Welcome to the Complete Beginner's Guide to AI in 2025. In this video, we're looking not only at the cutting-edge AI advancements that are transforming businesses, creativity, and research, but also at how AI agents are reshaping what software is, how they'll influence our social lives, and why the race towards increasingly intelligent systems has only just begun. By the end of this video, you'll understand the practical challenges that AI brings, the societal risks it poses, and the steps we can take to navigate this new era. So 2024 has been a crazy year for AI, and I thought that now, as we're nearing the end of 2024, it would be a great time to go over everything that's happened in the last year with AI, what the current state of it is, and then also go over what we can expect to see in 2025 and how you can get ahead of the game in 2025, because it really feels like a tipping point right now, and I don't think you want to fall behind here. 2025 is going to be the year where it starts to become required to know how to use AI tools just to stay ahead. So let's recap what's happened over the last year in AI. So we can see that one of the most important trends in 2024 was the rise of multimodal AI systems. And those are models that can process several types of data simultaneously. So we're talking, you can give it text, images, audio, video, and it's able to seamlessly switch between those things and do things like generate text from images or do things like create a video based on a text description, providing a visual aid image alongside text instructions. So in 2024, we started to see a transition from just text-based chatbot interfaces on these models to more multimodal models. And we saw the release of advanced voice mode from OpenAI, where you can just interact with the model in a conversational style. So now we can do things like just talk to the model like it was another person, and it's more natural conversation. We also saw the release of many text to video models that can generate very realistic video based on text descriptions. So when it comes to the frontier text to video models, we saw the release of Sora, which is OpenAI's text to video model. And we can see here they have featured videos. These are user generated videos. And we can click on each of these and see the prompts that were used to create these. For example, this prompt is: a pile of unlit old incandescent light bulbs sits in a pile in an alleyway. We're starting to get to the point where it's not unlikely that a Pixar type company using AI could be possible. It seems that these models are better used for animations right now because there's a little bit of weird physics. These initial outputs are really cool, and it's both exciting and maybe even a little bit frightening that this is the worst that these models will ever be. It's just going to get better from here on out, which is quite crazy to think that you could think of anything in your head and just put it into text and have it generated as a video. So that's going to be a key trend in 2025, is these multimodal outputs that are going to be integrated into our models. As a competitor to Sora, we also have VO2 from Google. The realistic videos are almost indiscernible from real videos, and we can see this kind of Pixar style animation looks really good, maybe a little bit creepy. Another big advancement in 2024 was natural speech synthesis. We had stuff like 11 Labs. So 11 Labs is able to create really high quality voice clones with just a short sample of speech.
All right, so get this. I'm at this new cafe downtown. All right, so get this. I'm at this new cafe downtown trying to act all sophisticated with an.
Another thing we've started to see in 2024 when it comes to gaming, procedural content generation. So AI can generate worlds on the fly dynamically. We've seen people start to use AI for enhanced graphics. Stuff like NVIDIA's Omniverse can generate detailed 3D models, building interiors that mimic real world designs. We've seen people use AI to generate 3D models for their games and art. We've seen AI algorithms that analyze player behavior and preferences and can create a personalized gaming experience, custom in-game narratives based on individual player skills and choices, and then intelligent NPCs or non-player characters that are becoming smarter and more responsive. They can adapt to player behavior and make the game world feel more alive. AI generated content is starting to be employed in game development. We've seen the creation of new game content, assets, mechanics, even entirely new games made with AI. Another big development in 2024 was AlphaFold 3. So AlphaFold 3 was developed by Google DeepMind and Isomorphic Labs, and their latest model has expanded its capabilities far beyond its predecessors. So now it can predict the structure and interactions of a wide range of biomolecules, proteins, DNA, RNA. So this is going to have a huge impact on drug discovery. Another big breakthrough was brain mapping. In 2024, we were able to map a tiny piece of the human brain to a level of detail never previously achieved, and that revealed never before seen structures within the human brain. And the full data set, including AI-generated annotations for each cell, has been made publicly available. Google DeepMind also announced Alpha Geometry, which was an AI system that solved complex geometry problems at a level approaching a human Olympiad gold medalist. And then Alpha Geometry 2 was then combined with a new model, Alpha Proof, and together they solved 83% of all historical international mathematical Olympiad geometry problems from the past 25 years. This demonstrated AI's growing ability to reason and potentially solve problems beyond current human abilities, moving us closer to systems that can discover and verify new knowledge. Speaking of reasoning, another big advancement in AI was chain of thought reasoning. So chain of thought reasoning is an advanced prompting technique that enhances problem-solving capabilities of LLMs by guiding them through a series of logical steps. This approach mirrors human-like reasoning processes, enabling AI systems to tackle complex tasks more effectively. So what this does is it takes a more complicated problem and it breaks it down into a sequence of reasoning steps before it arrives at a final answer. So this method simulates the cognitive strategy of deconstructing elaborate problems into manageable logical deductions. So chain of thought has proven to be particularly useful for STEM type things like research, physics, programming, that kind of thing. The first of these chain of thought models was O1 from OpenAI. So OpenAI has introduced a new paradigm called test time compute, which allows these models to generate multiple potential solutions and systematically evaluate each of those options. So the models iteratively improve their answers through guided self-revision, building on insights from previous attempts, and they generate multiple answers in parallel using a reward model to select the best response. And we saw the ability to scale test time compute. This essentially allows the models to think for longer. And we found that the longer you allow these models to think, the better the results were for many situations. So O1's able to come up with a set of reasoning steps to be able to solve more complicated problems. So we can see an example of this chain of thought reasoning in action if I give it an example like create a game design document for a game that involves fishing and dungeon crawling. Now O1 only had to think about this for a second, but if we go over to O1 Pro mode, that allows you to run O1 for longer using test time compute and think more deeply about the problem. So we can see this time it thought for 41 seconds while trying to create this comprehensive game design document. Another thing we saw in 2024 was the rise of LLM assisted coding, and this was with things like Cursor, which is an AI code editor. And the reason this is cool is because it writes a lot of the code for you, and in many cases you can just build out an entire prototype without having to write any code. So we could do something like paste in this design document, and then we can just say, please create a prototype of this. And it's created our assets folder for a Unity project, including all the scripts that we need, the fishing manager, and the player controller. So we could just create a new Unity project and it tells us exactly how to create a basic scene and add the scripts, set up everything, and get this game working. So you can see that these AI code editors really save us a lot of time. We also saw things like V0. So V0 from Vercel allows you to create really nice looking user interfaces. In 2025, these tools are going to get even better. So you're going to be able to create entire websites without writing any code, just text prompt. So that's going to be crazy. So that's a quick overview of where the current state of AI is at the end of 2024. But now we can look into some predictions for what's coming in 2025 in the world of AI. And then we can talk about how you can position yourself to benefit and get ahead. In 2024, we saw the transition from simple conversational chatbots to models that can start to reason and think about complex problems. If we think about AI as having 5 stages, where level 1 is the conversational AI chatbots that we saw from ChatGPT's release, then at the end of 2024, we have reached level 2, reasoners. AI can now solve complex problems comparable to humans with doctorate level education without relying on external resources. OpenAI has reached this stage with O1, which is their advanced reasoning model. As we move into 2025, we are starting to see glimpses of level 3 agents. 2025 will be the year of agentic AI. That's AI that uses tools, databases, and APIs directly. With the ability to reason and use tools, these models will be able to act autonomously on behalf of users for extended periods, performing more complicated tasks, making decisions, and adapting to various circumstances with minimal human oversight. My prediction is that by the end of 2025, we will firmly have arrived at level 3. With the rise of these autonomous AI agents, another prediction made by many is that software as a service models will be replaced by AI agents. For years, software as a service has defined how businesses consumed software. These are just apps that provide a nice user interface on top of databases and allow users to perform basic operations such as creating, reading, updating, and deleting certain items. By late 2025, we may move beyond this paradigm. Instead of logging into an app that is just a thin interface over a database, you might interact with an AI agent that directly taps into those databases and knowledge sources. Over the next few years, these rigid interfaces and discrete apps might morph into simply asking an agent what you need, and it executes the complex tasks autonomously and creates an interface for you based on your preferences and your goals dynamically. So this won't just streamline operations, it completely changes the paradigm. Agents will replace clunky menus and form fields with fluid conversation. This shift will set the stage for how we interact with all software going forward. Another prediction about AI agents is that we will start to think of them as colleagues, not just tools. Thanks to their chain of thought reasoning and advanced tool use capabilities, the AI agents of the future might act more like expert coworkers who remember everything and proactively help you achieve your goals. You'll be able to assign a complex task like compiling a market research report or debugging a code base or screening job candidates, and you'll come back later and find it done. As these reasoning capabilities get better and we approach effectively infinite context windows, meaning the amount of information that these models can hold in their working memory, so to speak, these agents will be able to autonomously run multi-step workflows. You'll be able to set them off on a complicated task like researching and writing a rough draft of a book for you, and you'll come back a few days later and it will have a draft for you. It will do all the research, it will create marketing materials, it will come up with a plan for launch, and it will publish for you if you want. It's just a peek into what the future might hold. When it comes to applying these AI agents in enterprise situations, you can imagine giving your AI assistant a long-term project like optimize our supply chain or prepare onboarding materials for the new employees. And the AI agents will be able to tap into Slack threads, wikis, code bases, your calendar, and it'll come back with a completely done-for-you solution. It'd be like having a really smart colleague who never forgets a conversation and knows exactly where to look for the right info. Another thing is that enterprises have long struggled with the institutional knowledge gap. Whenever companies onboard new employees, since AI will be able to tap into everything like Slack threads, code bases, project documents, it'll give you context-rich explanations for everything. You'll be able to ask it questions about why certain architectural decisions were made in a code base, or maybe when a new employee is facing a problem that is a repeated problem, the AI can surface past solutions. There's a lot of knowledge that exists within a company that is siloed, that maybe, there's a lot of situations where people might have left the company and they had this knowledge, and maybe this knowledge exists implicitly inside of some old Slack threads or in a wiki page somewhere, but no one knows that it exists. So you can imagine that once we have AI agents that have all of this context, they'll be able to completely solve this knowledge gap problem. Instead of sifting through outdated wikis or chasing down someone who knows more about some problem, you can just ask your AI agent, why did we choose this thing? Or what was the final resolution of this issue? And within seconds, it'll provide answers, code snippets, references, all of that. Another trend that is likely to continue in 2025 is multimodal models. And those are models that can interact with text and audio and video all at the same time. You can ask it to do things like generate a video, and it might be able to do things like generate a visual aid image to help explain a concept that you've asked it about. When it comes to programming, instead of typing code line by line, we may see programming morph into just having voice conversations with a coding agent and describing what you need in plain English. The agent might write the tests for you and refactor all of your old code, and it'll help you do things like fix security issues and come up with prototypes. You can imagine a more conversational style interaction where you have an idea and you ask it to create a prototype quickly, and then based on the results of the prototype as it runs it for you, you can see how it works and give it some feedback, and then it'll implement the feedback in real time as you're sitting there. This will vastly accelerate productivity for programmers. And it will also lower the barrier to entry to building prototypes and simple applications for people that don't know how to program. At the same time, we'll also see the integration of multimodal AI into robotics, which will lead to more capable machines. These robots will be able to see, hear, understand language, and manipulate objects with pretty much human dexterity. The fusion of language and action means you can instruct a robot to perform complex tasks using just your voice. If you couple that with advanced reasoning, these robots will be really adaptive and super helpful. Another thing we're likely to see in 2025 is more realistic image and video generation. This is going to be a double-edged sword. So we'll be able to generate photorealistic and extremely convincing videos by the end of 2025. And that means that these models can create people, scenarios, and entire cinematic sequences out of thin air. This is really cool, but it also brings serious risks. So as content becomes indistinguishable from reality and we're able to clone voices, it makes it extremely easy to do deepfake type videos where you can imagine maybe a famous person is shown on a generated video to do something or say something that they wouldn't. So as this content becomes indistinguishable from reality, more and more people will be fooled by it, and this poses a greater risk as people are fooled by AI generated news anchors reporting on events that didn't actually happen, fake evidence, synthetic people. You can imagine there's a social engineering aspect to this as well. So if you're able to create an entirely indistinguishable, lifelike person that can join a Zoom call, you can imagine that there could be a company that is really just a scam, and they're employing these lifelike AI fake personas to talk to people and get information and manipulate them. It's going to become increasingly more difficult to tell what's real and what's AI generated. As we go forward, I think we're all just going to have to be extra careful and essentially just assume that something is fake until proven true. I don't really see any other way. Because of this risk, we're going to have to develop digital watermarking protocols, and that's going to be things like adding a hidden signature to videos that are generated that can be seen with special software or tools to be able to verify who made the content, whether it was AI generated, and when it was made. Over the next year, AI is going to be able to do jobs that we once thought unimaginable. We'll have things like AI agents that screen job candidates and run the initial interviews. Maybe they'll even help hiring managers identify the top talent without as much bias. Maybe they'll be more biased. You can imagine AI assistants joining meetings, responding to questions, summarizing discussions, taking action items. They'll have access to your calendar and be able to create things on your calendar. Maybe we'll have AI avatars that are trained on our personalities that will be able to join Zoom calls on our behalf whenever we're busy somewhere else. Your avatar will attend the meeting and speak in your voice, and it'll know your calendar, and it'll give you a recap of the meeting and all the action items after the call. So these new capabilities may free us from all the boring work that we don't want to do. And instead of having to jump on so many meetings, we can trust our AI to handle it. So we can focus on more important things that need human intuition and judgment. In 2024, there was a lot of hype around the concept of AGI, or artificial general intelligence. One definition of AGI could be when we reach the point where these models are able to perform most tasks as well or better than the average human being. A more technical definition might say that AGI refers to a hypothetical form of AI that possesses human-like cognitive abilities across a wide range of tasks. So unlike narrow AI, which excels at specific functions, you can think of things like AlphaGo that was able to train in playing the game Go and beat the world champion. So AGI, instead of being like that narrow AI, claims to replicate the versatile problem-solving capabilities of the human mind. It can generalize, solve all sorts of problems. By 2025, we may realize that AGI matters a lot less than we thought, and it's arriving a lot sooner than we had predicted. We'll likely discover that what matters more is artificial superintelligence, or ASI, where the systems are vastly smarter than humans in all domains. Many predict that the next generation models, like O2, maybe the successor to the O1 models that were just released, may be able to exceed human intellect and reasoning tasks. My personal prediction is that we will see models with an IQ of 150 plus in the next year. Now, this isn't that bold of a prediction because we've already reached around an IQ of 130 by the end of 2024. Over the next 18 months, we might start to see systems that seem self-aware. But the models we have today are just scratching the surface. As chain of thought reasoning, test time training, and new architectures emerge, we'll be looking at models that feel not just smart, but almost seem self-aware. Recently, Google announced a ton of different products that have arguably put them back on the throne of AI. This is stuff like VO2, which seems like an improvement over Sora, Project Astra. They recently unveiled Android XR, which is a new operating system designed specifically for extended reality devices like AR, VR. It's likely that over the next 18 months, we'll see the first XR, AR, VR device that really catches on, maybe smart glasses that everyone wants that just look like normal glasses. This may be the next thing after phones. Who knows? This may be a new way to interact with digital content and information. It's more immersive and maybe we're trading our neck injuries for eye injuries. Google has also released Deep Research, which is the ability to ask a complicated question and then have Gemini research it and look up a bunch of different websites, scrape a bunch of information for you, and then it will create these documents of in-depth research with works cited at the bottom. So this will save you a lot of time when you're researching for any sort of situation. Google will likely be releasing their Gemini 2.0, and we've already seen that Gemini 2.0 Experimental Advanced and Gemini 2.0 Flash Experimental have topped the charts right now in terms of model performance. So we're likely going to see Gemini 2.0 and OpenAI O2, maybe GPT-5. Just to give you an idea of how quickly things are advancing in the field of AI, while I was recording this video, as the 12th day of OpenAI's 12 days of shipness, where they were announcing a new product or feature for 12 days, on their final day, they've announced O3, which is, I'll just let it play so you can understand.
Good morning. We have an exciting one for you today. We started this 12-day event 12 days ago with the launch of O1, our first reasoning model. It's been amazing to see what people are doing with that and very gratifying to hear how much people like it. We view this as sort of the beginning of the next phase of AI, where you can use these models to do increasingly complex tasks that require a lot of reasoning. And so for the last day of this event, we thought it would be fun to go from one frontier model to our next frontier model. Today, we're going to talk about that next frontier model, which you would think logically maybe should be called O2, but out of respect to our friends at Telefonica and in the grand tradition of OpenAI being really, truly bad at names, it's going to be called O3.
And I want to talk a little bit about O3's capabilities. Now, O3 is a really strong model at very hard technical benchmarks. And I want to start with coding benchmark. So on software style benchmarks, we have SweBench Verified, which is a benchmark consisting of real-world software tasks. We're seeing that O3 performs at about 71.7% accuracy, which is over 20% better than our O1 models. Now, this really signifies that we're really climbing the frontier of utility as well. On competition code, we see that O1 achieves an ELO on this contest coding site called Codeforce of about 1891. At our most aggressive high test time compute settings, we're able to achieve almost like a 27 ELO here.
So Mark was a competitive programmer, actually still coaches competitive programming. Very, very good. What is your?
I think my best at a comparable site was about 2,500.
That's tough.
Well, I will say, our chief scientist, this is also better than our chief scientist Jakob's score.
This model is incredible at programming.
Yeah, and not just programming, but also mathematics. So we see that on competition math benchmarks, just like competitive programming, we achieve very, very strong scores. So O3 gets about 96.7% accuracy versus an O1 performance of 83.3% on the AMI. There's another very tough benchmark, which is called GPQA Diamond, and this measures the model's performance on PhD level science questions. Here we get another state-of-the-art number, 87.7%, which is about 10% better than our O1 performance, which was at 78%. Just to put this in perspective, if you take an expert PhD, they typically get about 70% in kind of their field of strength here. So one thing that you might notice, from some of these benchmarks is that we're reaching saturation for a lot of them, or nearing saturation. So the last year has really highlighted the need for really harder benchmarks to accurately assess where our frontier models lie. And I think a couple have emerged as fairly promising over the last month. One in particular I want to call out is Ark AI's Frontier Math Benchmark. You can see the scores look a lot lower than they did for the previous benchmarks we showed. And this is because this is considered today the toughest mathematical benchmark out there. This is a data set that consists of novel, unpublished, and also very hard to
These are
test.
extremely hard.
Yeah, very, very hard problems. Even Terence Tao says, it would take professional mathematicians hours or even days to solve one of these problems. And today, all offerings out there have less than 2% accuracy on this benchmark. And we're seeing with O3, in aggressive test time settings, we're able to get over 25%. In addition to Ark AI's Frontier Math Benchmark, we have one more surprise for you guys. So I want to talk about the Ark Benchmark at this point, but I would love to invite one of our friends, Greg, who is the president of the Ark Foundation, on to talk about this benchmark.
Wonderful. Sam and Mark, thank you very much for having us today.
Of course.
Hello, everybody. My name is Greg Camrad, and I'm the president of the Ark Prize Foundation. Now, Ark Prize is a nonprofit with the mission of being a North Star towards AGI through and during benchmarks. So our first benchmark, Ark AGI, was developed in 2019 by Francois Chollet in his paper on the measure of intelligence. However, it has been unbeaten for 5 years. Now, in AI world, it feels like centuries is where it is. So the system that beats Ark AGI is going to be an important milestone towards general intelligence. But I'm excited to say today that we have a new state-of-the-art score to announce. Before I get into that though, I want to talk about what Ark AGI is. So I would love to show you an example here. Ark AGI is all about having input examples and output examples.
Well, they're good.
They're good? Okay. Input examples and output examples. Now the goal is you want to understand the rule of the transformation and guess it on the output. So, Sam, what do you think is happening in here?
Probably putting a dark blue square in the empty space.
See, yes, that is exactly it. Now, that is really, it's easy for humans to intuitively guess what that is. It's actually surprisingly hard for AI to understand what's going on. So I want to show one more hard example here. Now, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think is going on in this task?
Okay, so you take each of these yellow squares, you count the number of colored kind of squares there, and you create a border of that width.
That is exactly it, and that's much quicker than most people, so congratulations on that. What's interesting though is AI has not been able to get this problem thus far, and even though that we verified that a panel of humans could actually do it. Now, the unique part about Ark AGI is every task requires distinct skills. And what I mean by that is there won't be another task that you need to fill in the corners with blue squares. But we do that on purpose. And the reason why we do that is because we want to test the model's ability to learn new skills on the fly. We don't just want it to repeat what it's already memorized. That's the whole point here. Now, Ark AGI version 1 took 5 years to go from 0% to 5% with leading frontier models. However, today, I'm very excited to say that O3 has scored a new state-of-the-art score that we have verified. On low compute O3, it has scored 75.7 on Ark AGI's semi-private holdout set. Now, this is extremely impressive because this is within the compute requirements that we have for our public leaderboard, and this is the new #1 entry on Ark AGI Pub. So congratulations to that.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Now, as a capabilities demonstration, when we ask O3 to think longer and we actually ramp up to high compute, O3 was able to score 85.7%. Sorry, 87.5, yes. This is especially important because human performance is comparable at 85% threshold. So being above this is a major milestone. And we have never tested a system that has done this or any model that has done this beforehand. So this is new territory in the Ark AGI world. Congratulations with that.
Congratulations for making such a great benchmark.
Yeah. When I look at these scores, I realize I need to switch my worldview a little bit. I need to fix my AI intuitions about what AI can actually do and what it's capable of, especially in this O3 world. But the work also is not over yet, and these are still the early days of AI. We need more enduring benchmarks like Ark AGI to help measure and guide progress.
So you can see that they said that 85% on the Ark benchmark is when it starts to become comparable to human scores. So even with their lowest compute settings here, you can see that O3 was able to get a 75.7%. They were able to get up to 87.5% on their highest compute settings, And this is essentially just how long they let the model think for. I believe in this case, on their highest settings to get this 87.5%, they had to throw like $500,000 at the problem of compute costs. That's just kind of how these systems are, where you're gonna have to pay a lot more to think for a lot longer to get slightly better results. But I'd argue that this is actually quite a huge leap. 75% to 87% is quite a huge leap. But let's not forget that this is an insane milestone to achieve, and it's already being announced before we get into 2025. So I just know that 2025 is going to be a crazy year. It's likely that these models will be fully launched in the next couple quarters. And there is an argument to be made that this is already artificial general intelligence, because it's already able to do a lot of knowledge work tasks better than the average human. So this alone is enough to completely disrupt a lot of different industries once we can apply this. And while it did take maybe $500,000 of compute to get up to this crazy high score, the cost of compute is just going to drastically decrease over time too. So it's going to become cheaper and cheaper to get access to the smartest models. But anyway, that's it. I just thought I'd throw this in here because it was actually announced as I was recording this video. Just thought that was funny. To be able to thrive in this new environment, people are going to have to start learning prompt engineering. And prompt engineering is just the art and science of designing and optimizing prompts or inputs to guide AI models, particularly large language models, towards generating the responses that they want. And it may seem odd, but these prompt engineering techniques can actually make a serious difference in the quality of outputs you get from these models. Your ability to craft better prompts is going to get you better outputs and therefore give you more capabilities than other people. So this is stuff like using one-shot prompting, where you give the model an example instead of just asking for something. You ask for it and then you give it an example of what you're looking for. And studies show that using one-shot prompts as opposed to zero-shot can increase the output relevance by approximately 30%. There's also chain of thought prompting. Just asking the model to think through step by step can improve its reasoning abilities and problem-solving skills, boosting performance on complex tasks by up to 25%. Just simply adding think step by step at the end of the prompt. So prompt engineering is going to be extremely important in 2025. It's definitely a skill to start learning. Best way to get better at prompting is to start using these models as much as you can for all sorts of things. Anytime you think about asking a human to do something, consider whether you could ask an AI model. The real opportunity right now with AI is doing the boring things that smart people don't want to do. That could be things like going through companies' invoices, profit and loss statements meticulously and see where they can save the most money. Think about things that people don't do because they're too time consuming, require too much patience, or too boring. And I think that will be the best strategy for startups in 2025, building AI that does the boring things that people don't really want to do. One thing that Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, just said is that a better way to think about AI agents is that you might see them call up 100 different restaurants and figure out exactly what the best restaurant would be to reserve a table at for us. Things that weren't really feasible in the past will now be feasible. And that might seem crazy because that's wasting a lot of people's time if you're calling 100 restaurants. But then you have to consider that those restaurants will likely be using agents that respond and answer questions. So it'll be two agents talking to each other. And those sorts of interactions might become a lot more common. Sam Altman also predicts that in the future, we'll be able to walk up to a piece of glass and just say something that we want. And it'll build it out for us as we're sitting there and show it on the display. It could be something that would have taken a human years to do at one point, and now it can be done in minutes. So this will free up a lot more time for us to be able to focus on things that we actually want to do or care about. Another piece of advice for people that are thinking about startups in 2025 is to find the things that the newest models just barely aren't able to do and start building solutions around those problems so that when the next generation of frontier models come out, you're positioned to benefit from them and you're already a step ahead. So the most important skills going forward are going to be prompt engineering, strong critical thinking, and high agency. The future will belong to those people that can collaborate effectively with AI and combine their human intuition with these machines that can amplify their capabilities. One person will be able to do the work of 1,000 people. Sam Altman and his friends have a bet going right now about when the first $1 billion one-person business will come about. There will be companies that used to require hundreds of employees that now can exist with only a few employees, or maybe even just one person, a bunch of different AI agents, or maybe even 0 people and a bunch of AI agents. I call these 0-person businesses, and I think we're going to see them in the next decade. So that's the landscape of AI in 2025. SaaS is probably going to yield to agentic AI. We're going to start to see true AI agents come online. Coding can be done with conversations. AI is going to be interviewing job candidates and attend meetings for us. Businesses are definitely going to start using AI a lot more over the next year. And we're also going to see a world where ultra-realistic media challenges our sense of reality, and AI companions risk shaping our beliefs. At the same time, we'll be able to solve problems that we wouldn't have been able to solve in the past. As we stand on this edge, we have to remember that these technologies are tools, not fate. Hopefully this video has given you a much better understanding of where we're at in the world of AI at the end of 2024, what it might look like in 2025, and how to get ahead. Thanks for watching the Complete Beginner's Guide to AI in 2025. If you want to learn more about how to leverage AI, you can always join our free school community from the link in the description, and you'll be able to access lots of free courses and workshops. Thanks for watching.